Life doesn't move in straight lines. It twists, turns, and surprises us along the way. On Better Things Ahead, we talk with people who have walked those winding paths. Each story reminds us of the lessons, hope, and promise of better things ahead. This week on Better Reminders, we take a look at a few of our episodes from our schooling series. Each one of these episodes dealt with different topics surrounding public school, private school, homeschooling, as well as making the decision to change to a different school environment. We hope that this will help you prepare for the school year as perhaps your family is walking through some of these decisions.
Today we have Ben and Sonia Kerr joining us. Ben, Sonia, so glad that you're here. They're joining us today because we're starting a series that has to do with making choices for your children when it comes to school. And in an area like ours, this is not always the case when people are making choices about where their kids are going to go to school, but in an area like ours, we have good public schools, good private schools, homeschooling options are good in our state, and when people are trying to make decisions about what schools their kids go to, they feel like in a lot of cases it's a kind of a stressful choice. They don't want to make the wrong choice and mess their kid's future up. We have a tendency to really spiritualize these decisions. And what we would like to do is to get the perspective of some people who have sent their kids through private school from beginning to end. They've completed the journey at least once, who've gone to public schools, who've gone through homeschooling, and just kind of like get an idea of what were the benefits of that, what were the challenges of that, so that if you're listening to this, hopefully what you'll get out of this is a way to make an informed decision for you and your kids, and not feel guilt when it comes to making decisions, not feel that it's a super high stress situation. And so what I'd like to hear from you guys first, so this is a curiosity, I don't know the answer to this question. Tell me a little bit about how you grew up and what education you got when you were growing up. Were you guys public school kids, private school kids? What did y'all get?
You go first.
For me, public school. I grew up in a public school, high school that my parents went to the school, the whole family, and so it was not an elite school by any means, and a lot of courses that my kids have taken in junior high were not even offered in my high school. So the world is a lot different now. So, yeah, public school for me for sure.
Tuscaloosa. Sonia grew up in Tuscaloosa. I grew up in a small town in Alabama, literally in the middle of nowhere.
Yep.
And so there was one option.
There
was the little Hamilton High School. It was the only school in town. The closest school otherwise was probably about 20 minutes down the road, which was another county high school that was even smaller. That's where you went because that's where everybody went.
Yeah. Yeah, I was also a public school kid. My parents never really considered sending me to a private school. Part of that had to do with just economic decisions. I never really wanted to go to a private school, and so I liked the public school that I was in, and it was a good public school. But there weren't as many options as there are today. I think we live in a world that has a ton of options when it comes, especially in our area, a ton of.
Because it's also worth saying that homeschooling was not an option then.
Yeah,
it just wasn't. It wasn't something that was done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I guess a question that I would follow that up with. So you guys have decided and have sent your children through private schools. Did your background, the way you grew up, did that have any impact on the choices y'all made for your children?
Yes. What do you think?
Yes and no. For me, I think that, as I said, the world is a much different place. As I grew up in a public school, it was more of a family atmosphere. I mean, there was crime and theft the way you see now. I'm not saying that that's just in the public school, but and also moving to an area. Ben did his residency in Washington, D.C., so we were looking for a school when we were moving here. And moving to this area, not knowing anything, one of the physicians that had really recruited us to this area, his child went to a private school, and so he said, hey, take a look at this. And so that's how it came to be for us. We took a look, and then I looked around online because we came here probably 6 or 8 months before we even moved. And so I just kept searching, and this same school kept coming up again and again. So I thought, well, we'll give this a try.
Yeah.
And for me, it influenced my thoughts on the decision, both good and bad, I guess. Number one, being from a small town, small school, everybody knew everybody.
Yeah.
And I like that. I like the small community approach to a school. Also, the chances of having a Christian influence in a school, I felt like it was a better bet with a private school.
Yeah.
But then also something else that I would say influenced my decision, but from a negative based on my background, was being from the South.
Yeah.
Public schools can be a little bit of a roll of the dice as far as
Sure.
what you're going to get academically sometimes. I know the school that I went to, God love all my teachers that I had, but some of them I really felt like it was not necessarily the best academic experience.
Yeah.
Same, and that's what I was saying when, as I said, we had classes my kids are taking now that we never were offered. And so I think we wanted better for our kids than what we had.
Yeah.
In that regard.
Sure. Text, y'all have put 2 all the way through.
Our second just graduated.
This
Yep.
is our
So-
16th year.
Yep. And
2 in high school.
right. So at any point along the way with any of them, any of the 4, have y'all like questioned and thought to yourself, maybe we should send this one to a public school and the others finish at a private school? How does each child factor into the decision about where they're going to go to school? Any at all?
I think that the main, just recently, the one of the temptations that we've had with our youngest, Jonah. So 3 girls, 1 boy. Jonah's the youngest, and he's obviously more into athletics than the other 3, and we would like for him to see a little bit more of a higher level competition in athletics than what St. Andrews may have to offer. But at the same time, we had kind of had to weigh that decision and say, okay, but is it worth taking him out of this environment and putting him somewhere else and missing out on the academics or like I said, the culture of for lack of a better word, culture of excellence that they have in the classroom.
Yeah.
And it just really, really wasn't.
And all kids don't fit in the same box, obviously. So a lot of families that we know do that. Sometimes it's financial reasons, and I have to say this. I don't know. I can't speak for other private schools, but at St. Andrews, if you are not financially able to send a child there, and your child can make the grade and behave, then there's a way. They certainly do. Yeah. I mean, and you don't know who's on scholarship and who's not because they're all saints. They're all together.
But to that end, something that, like I'm referring back to something I said earlier, from a very young age, when the kids were just in the preschool classes, kindergarten, elementary school, they developed friendships. They also developed relationships with the faculty. And one of the comments that I made when we were thinking about should we look somewhere else for athletics, the idea of taking Jonah out of a school where he'd been since he was 3 years old, that had a certain amount of value to it because this was his community. This is our school community. This is our village, at school.
I got to interject there.
That's helped us raise our kids.
And as we say, that's our village because that was a concern for us and other parents. Our village came together, and they are making strides on the athletic program as well. They have brought in new coaching staff and trying to revamp. So I guess I could say we're trying to be the change that we want to see instead of leaving.
Yeah. I know that one of the questions that probably will come up in the minds of some of the people who listen is, is there a one size fits all, or is it like you just kind of look at each kid individually and you say this is what's best for that kid, and to what level is that possible as a parent? I mean, do you think that's something that Ideally, that probably is the way you would approach things. That like you got 3 or 4 kids, and you kind of look at each of them and say, you know what, this is what's going to be best for you. But practically, that's really hard to do.
Well, and it is, and maybe it's a little bit easier with smaller families. Mm-hmm. But I just think about what kind of running around it would have taken for us to, for Sonia to pick up the kids if they were all over Jackson, you know?
Yeah.
If they were, one kid was here or 2 kids were there, that kind of thing. Mm. And part of it was just, it's having them all at one place.
Practically, it's way more convenient.
Yeah.
It is more convenient, but also you have to think about long term. Is it a sacrifice? Absolutely.
Well, I was going to ask a question about what are the drawbacks that you guys see to private education, as you've experienced it. But go ahead, Sonia. I didn't interrupt you.
Expense.
Yeah.
And for us, especially because, Ben has a great job, so we don't get scholarship dollars. Mm-hmm. So it is a sacrifice. But we have spoken with so many families who have graduates of this school, and they say it is truly an investment on the front end. Ben says not just on the front end, an investment.
The entire way.
Here is a statistic. 64 or 5 kids in the graduating class of 2025, $10.9 million in scholarship. Mm-hmm. That's a lot for that group. So 100% of the class goes to college. Now, you can say, oh, that's just because their families have means. But there are so many kids there without the means that are able to go there. 100% of that class goes to college. So the chances of them going out there and getting another education, I mean, it's just good. And kids who go to college, you can interview anybody that graduated there, says college is easy. They have prepared the students very well.
Yeah.
One of the things that I would just kind of add a thought to that. Expense is you can say it's a drawback,
sure,
but at the same time, I think we would look at it as where are you gonna the money that you have, because everybody's got their pie,
right?
Everybody's got their budget.
Yep.
Of the money that you're going to spend in a variety of different ways, you can do much worse than investing in your kids, kind of in their education at the primary level, and rather than see it as a drawback, kind of the way I look at it, and what I've actually even told the kids is, you guys, I mean, it's an expensive education, but you guys are tools that are being sharpened, and so whether it's in primary school, college, or postgraduate degree, you are being sharpened and you're being prepared for service. You're being prepared to do something, and we're trying to give you the best leg up on being able to do that, the best preparation that we can to make you ready for it.
You mentioned service. I don't know if all private schools do this, but the school that we go to does require a number of service hours to be able to graduate. So they do put the kids out in the community for service. They have service learning days where you don't go to school, you go and you serve others.
Yeah.
And they're very supportive of that. Kids want to start up something to, serve the community. They are really behind that.
Yeah. People listen to this and they hear my heart of, I want you to be able to make this decision and feel confident in the decision. I want you to make the decision and feel like you are committing to the process of your child growing and their development, and not just development academically, but spiritually, emotionally, all of these things. And today I am joined by Christy and Jeremy Bounds. They have been members here at Ridgecrest for quite a while. How long have y'all been members here?
22 years.
22 years. That's a long time. They have 5 kids, and they have gone through the journey of homeschooling. We've talked about, we're going to have people on that talk about public and private school. We also want to have somebody on that talks about homeschooling, because these are decisions that people have to make about where their kids go to school, what they, how they want to approach education. So tell me a little bit about your kids. Y'all have 2 in college, and then you have a middle schooler and a couple elementary kids. Yes. So tell us a little bit about that, and then after that, tell us a little bit about the decision to homeschool. And y'all also have three right now in a hybrid version of homeschooling. And so just kind of tell us a little bit about how we got there.
Okay, well, we have Riley, who is a junior and a half at Mississippi College. She'll be a senior after Christmas, which is crazy.
That is crazy.
But she is a biology major and plans on going to PA school for graduate school to be a physician's assistant. And Emmy is a freshman. She just started. And right now, you know how it is, freshman, this could change. But right now, her plan is to go to nursing school. And then Elliot is an 8th grader at St. Augustine. And then the twins are both 2nd graders at St. Augustine. And I will go ahead and say that, like, as far as decisions for school go, we always made those decisions together. But when it came to homeschooling, Jeremy kind of, I hate to say put it on me, but he knew I would be the primary teacher. He knew that the job of homeschooling would mostly fall on me. So when I approached him about possibly homeschooling, it was one of those things that he was like, if you ever, like, I'm not going to make that decision for you, basically. He's like, I'll support you in whatever decision you make. But he's like, I'm still going to go to work and come home. Like, I want to know that it's working for you. And so he never really, like, so I don't want to make it sound like he wasn't involved in the decision, but he also was like, you know, I'm not the one who has to sit in here with our kids every day and try to teach. So, so he did kind of put that on me, but
and we started in
public school.
Okay, I didn't realize that. Yeah.
Riley went to public school till 5th grade, and Emmy until 3rd.
Yeah.
And then Elliot had never been in a formal school situation until we started at St. Augustine.
Yeah.
But
and I'll say we had a great experience at Madison Crossing.
Yeah.
Great teachers. I mean, one of our teachers came to, was it Emmy's?
She actually came to both of the girls' baptisms. Yeah.
Great support there. Had a great experience there. But
to the point that when we decided to homeschool, I made sure and contacted their teachers and let them know, you did nothing that made us make this decision, because I didn't want them to feel like they had done something wrong, or I felt like they were inadequate.
How hard was the decision to make the move? I mean, because like you both you had experienced public school growing up, you had experienced private school. So like homeschooling was not, it doesn't sound like it was in the background of your life.
And I'll say she is diehard public school. Like she was, she went to public school. She was like an advocate. She got her, a master's in English education.
Public school.
And people would speak out against public school, and she would be the first to say no. Like, this is a good thing. So it was a hard decision. And I'd say it was a hard decision for myself because, history, there's been a stigma around homeschooling.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up.
There still is.
And I think
but I think it's better than it was.
It's better, yeah. Well, and that was kind of my hold up, is I didn't want to raise kids in a sheltered manner. I wanted them to be able to operate in society and be social and right. And it seemed like the homeschoolers I knew growing up, like they're socially they were not as mature as somebody that went to a traditional school.
Sure.
So, and I think Christy's reservations were more around, can she do it? Can she teach her kids and they be good citizens or be educated in a way?
Be prepared to take the next
step.
Can
they go to college and be successful?
Right. I didn't want me to be the reason.
That was 100% not my concern. If anybody is qualified to teach our kids, she is. She has her master's in elementary education. She's very, very qualified. So I think it took us a few years to make that decision.
It was always it was in the back burner for several years. So like really before we had kids, and even when we didn't even really have a conversation once the kids were getting ready to start school. It was just like, no, we're going to public school. We live right down the street from an amazing public school. We live in a great district. We pay good money to live in this district. Our housing is more expensive, and there was a reason we lived where we lived. And I had the principal at the time was a very respected professor of mine at Mississippi College. that I had worked under, and Dr. D'Amico, and I loved her so much, and I was so excited that my kids were going to her school. Like, it just felt so right, and it was right at the time. I didn't think we did anything. At the time, that was where they needed to be. But as my kids danced at Ballet Magnificat, and the cool thing about there was you had a little bit of everything. You had private school, you had public school, you had homeschool. And so I kind of got to talk to some other parents just about the things that they did and the things they were doing. And we did talk about it for a few years before we actually made the leap, because I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know anything about the homeschool world. I didn't know how to make sure my kids could graduate from high school and get into college. Like, I didn't know any of those things, and I didn't want to do anything that would be detrimental to them.
Sure.
But at the same time, as Riley was hitting 5th grade and her homework was ramping up, and she was just, I felt like we would get home, we would do all this homework. They didn't even do that many after school activities. Like, they just did ballet, which at the time was only a day a week. And so, like, I felt like I was like, we are running a rat race. And for us, it was more of a family and busyness decision than it had anything to do with the actual quality of education or even the Christian values. Because like you said, we had, Brandy Winstead taught at our school. Kim Reed was there. I mean, we had all these people, even from church, that saw my kids every day and loved on them.
Yeah.
That was never a concern of ours. So it was more of a family decision. I wanted, when we came home, for them to be able to go outside and just play and not feel like we had to get right to the table to do homework. I wanted them, when their dad got home, to be able to, like, hang out with him instead of us hurrying and go. Because, like, if it was a night he worked late, we just stayed up a little later and slept in the next morning and started school a little later the next day. So those were our reasons. And it's not for everybody. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with people that, I don't think that they're making less time for their family or anything like that. Our friend Matt and Mandy Calvert, Mandy used to joke about all of our friends were stay-at-home moms and she was not. And she was like, I'm a better mom because I work. And I was like, and you know that about yourself. And I think that's important. Like, so I feel like all family, I just want to go on the record right now as saying that, like, all these parenting decisions, I feel like everybody is doing what's best for their family. And that's what we had to do, was sit back and go, even though I feel like some people are going to laugh at us, even though I'm kind of eating crow because I've always been such a staunch supporter of public education, I feel like this is what is best for our family right now. And we even said it could change. Like, we would reevaluate at the end of the year and be like, what worked, what didn't work.
Yeah.
What different kids need different situations. Some kids thrive in that situation. Some kids need to be somewhere else. They might need a full-time schooling situation. So we knew we weren't so stubborn about it that we were like, this is what we're going to do. You know, and this is what every kid is going to do.
Well, in fact, every year we ask our kids, do you want to continue doing this, or do you want to do something different? What's not working? What is working?
I want them to know we weren't doing it to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, with them.
Yeah, I wanted them to not. I wanted them to have a say, especially as I got older.
Yeah,
to have a say in that decision, and it did not come without stress and guilt on my part, because I would see pictures of pep rallies, and I'd be like, "You don't have pep rallies? Like, are you mad about that?" And they're like, "We don't care." And I'm like, "Do you really not care? You tell me that?" And they're like, "Well, yes, they look fun." But then we have this, like, we're able to work during the day and do some, like, get a job where we want to get a job, and then balance our school with that. And we're able to come home and take a nap, or, there were things they could do and work their schedule with it being more flexible, that we could travel more as a family. So things like that, they were like, it's pro and con. Like, you have to give some.
Well, that was going to be one of my questions for y'all, is like, what were some of the things, I'm going to ask both sides of the question. What were some of the things that you looked at and you were like, these are definite pros of us making this decision? And then what were some of the drawbacks, what challenges of it? I mean, because I'm sure there are some.
For sure.
And so I'm curious to hear, from your perspective, these are the good things that we saw as we began to do this. And then these are the things that we saw that were real challenges, but we worked through them.
Well, for me, one of the pros for sure was just flexibility. But then also with that came the con of accountability and making sure that, we didn't take too many days off or we didn't get too lazy with our schedule.
I will say, I remember my sister saying something similar to me because my sister homeschooled while they were here. They homeschooled, and they said that Mississippi's laws were pretty lax.
Very relaxed, which is good if you, because you can do what you want to do, but then on the same hand, you can do what you want to do. And there's not a lot of accountability there at all. And I think that gives homeschool kids in Mississippi even more of a stigma.
Sure.
And I was going to say that was one of my cons is when for my kids, when they tell people oh, where'd you graduate from high school? They're like, oh, I was homeschooled. And they always get this, and then nothing. And it's they're like, okay, I know. Matter of fact, Riley and Emmy both said they were jealous that Elliot, when he goes to college, they're going to go, where'd you go to school? And he can go St. Augustine School. And nobody's going to really ask him any questions.
Yeah.
But they get looks. They're like, oh, your parents gave you your grades, and I feel like we do a lot of explaining ourselves. And that's definitely a con, is I feel like I'm always having to go, no, she took pre-calculus from an adjunct professor at Belhaven.
Yeah.
I did not give her an A. She earned an A.
Right.
And I feel like I do a lot of, no, we're not antisocial. We're in sports. We have a whole group of and they're like, oh, but they're homeschool sports. I'm like, no, we compete against local private and public schools. Our cross country team ran with Madison Central. We're a legit sports team. And so I felt like we were always having to just kind of justify everything we did. Whereas anybody that went to private or public school, I didn't feel like they had to stand up for themselves. And that was definitely something that was hard and something I'm kind of glad I don't have to do anymore.
I'll say, so Riley recently, I think she was telling somebody that she was homeschooled, and they were like, "Oh, I wouldn't have known that." That's a huge compliment.
I was like, that's kind of a compliment. I don't want anybody to go, "Yeah, we knew, we could tell."
Oh, that makes sense.
I always wondered.
That makes so much sense now. Yeah. So that was definitely those things are definitely cons, but for sure the pros were the amount of time my kids got to spend with each other as siblings and how close they were. The twins were little when Emmy was 5th, 6th, 7th grade. She was there. She was able to hold them and take care of them.
Yeah.
And she's very close with them. Mm-hmm. And again, I'm not saying you can't be that way if you go to school, but I think there were just more opportunities for them to have that time to spend time with each other.
Yeah.
They had the opportunity to work a job that maybe they could work in the early afternoon and not have to work into the evenings and that kind of stuff. There was more flexibility in that. And then with their classes, there was more of a flexibility of I can lean towards more things that I'm more interested in, instead of having to do a set curriculum that was set out for me. I mean, they still had to take, biology and chemistry and those kinds of things. But I will say another con is not that there's a limit for socialization, but it's kind of like going to a big school versus a small school. In a big school, you have a big pool of people to choose from where you can find your friends in that group. We had a kind of a smaller pool of friends to choose from, which worked great for Emmy because she's more of a relational, she's going to have 2 or 3 close friends and they're going to be tight.
Yeah.
Whereas Riley's more social and likes having a lot of people to do stuff with. So it was having that smaller pool of people to choose from on the daily. They had church friends, they had ballet friends, but when it came just to school, the people they went to classes with and that kind of stuff, it was just a really small group.
I really appreciate y'all's insight and time today. It's been a good conversation, and the thing that I would share with you guys that have been listening and I've shared throughout this series is when you make decisions like this, don't make these decisions out of fear. Make them because you feel called to them. Make them knowing that you are the primary discipler of your children. And and be intentional about the things you do with your kids when it comes to their education. Today, I have with me Steve and Anna Given. Steve and Anna have been members here at Ridgecrest for quite a while. How long have you been members here?
2000.
2000. So I was in college, and
Thanks for that. I already had kids. I appreciate that.
Yep, you're welcome. And you're in cybersecurity, and Anna, you're a public school teacher.
Yes.
So we wanted to have you guys on to talk a little bit about public school because that was the choice y'all made for your kids. And but first of all, did both of y'all grow up going to public school?
I went to a private school, Magnolia Academy,
Okay.
through the 7th grade. My mom taught there, and so that's just where we were. And then when she moved to teach in public schools, we moved to Clinton, and then she started teaching in Clinton public schools, and that's when my brother and I started going.
Okay. All right, Steve, you.
Clinton Public Schools, kindergarten through 12th grade, had a very undistinguished career, but I did graduate.
Well, and that's really all we have to get. You know, the diploma is what we really needed out of that, right? So, Anna, I'm curious, what was the transition like as you moved from 7th to 8th grade and
Yeah.
out of private into public school?
Which is a hard time for kids in middle
Yeah,
school.
middle school's tough to begin with.
It is. I had some friends already there in Clinton, and I went to church with some that were there at the school. So it was I went from a very small school at Magnolia to Clinton Junior High, which was pretty large.
One of the biggest in the state.
Yes.
Yeah.
But because I had those friend groups, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
So,
How small was Magnolia?
not sure number wise. I think there were like 2 classes per grade.
Yeah.
Like 2 first grade classes, 2 second, so that was it.
Fewer than 100 in their graduating classes, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Especially
Yeah.
by that time.
Yeah, because by the time I graduated from Clinton, we had 320 in our graduating
Yes.
class. So you're
Yes.
talking about 3 times as big as what you were, at least 3 times as big. So that's a pretty interesting, a difficult transition maybe sometime in some ways. So I'm curious, how did kind of y'all's experience with public school as you grew up affect maybe the choices that you made with the kids and how y'all decided, yeah, I want my kids to go to public school? Was that ever really a conversation for you guys?
I don't think we ever considered anything but public unless you
Yeah.
remember having a real
I don't
specific
think so.
conversation
Number
about it.
one, we could not afford
Yeah,
to
we
do
You may
anything
have
but
noticed we
public
had,
school.
Yeah, 3 kids within 19 months. So
Yeah.
we were just holding on for dear life there for quite a while.
And then I was teaching in public schools. So of course, I stayed home when they were young, but I had taught already in a public school and then went back to teaching when Shelby was in 2nd grade and the boys were in kindergarten. I think I went back.
And I think in Clinton, for me, man, that was a great school district. So, I had nothing negative to say about it. We had a lot of really good teachers, and it was well thought of, and it was just good. It was kind of interesting. I had a conversation recently with a fellow graduate who was 2 years ahead of me and much smarter, but his brother's incredibly successful. But we were talking about the people we knew from Clinton that were C-level execs now, different places, and have been very successful. And it's just an interesting conversation. But I think Clinton was a unique district in the time, and I think even in hindsight, now that I learned a lot more about how it was founded and some of the beliefs of the people who founded it and all that. So I feel like, man, it was pretty unique.
Yeah.
And I saw that even among other schools. When you get to college, you kind of begin to realize you may have a foundation that's stronger than maybe even others that are sitting around you. So.
Yeah. So y'all eventually made the move from Clinton to here, to Madison, where we are now. Do you see some of the same sorts of things that you saw in Clinton Public Schools and Madison Public Schools?
Yeah.
Madison County Schools?
Yeah.
I think so. I think Madison's a bit of a mirror. Madison, during the time frame we've lived here as adults, is a bit of a mirror as to what Clinton was growing up, and Clinton remains a good school district.
Yeah.
But a lot of people moving here, a lot of young families, and so it's interesting. But the school district's very strong.
Yeah. So Anna, you've kept teaching in the public schools. What has why have you enjoyed teaching so much in the school that you're in? And I'm curious to know why you've continued to teach. Is it something? Obviously, you love it, but
Yeah,
I just
I
would love
do.
to hear more about it.
I've taught 8th grade math for 23 years. This
Yeah.
is my 23rd year. I've taught in the same classroom for 23 years.
That's amazing.
But I just love what I do. I love the school that I'm in. I cannot say enough good about Madison Middle. I don't know any other schools to compare that to, but it is a great school. And we've been through a lot of different administrators, and it's not like it's been one administrator the whole time, but no matter what, all the changes, it's still been, to me, just one of the best places to teach.
So in y'all's experience, I'm curious to know, with your kids going all the way through and experience in public school the entire way through, I want to start with what were some of the drawbacks of that or the cons that you saw of their experience? And they may not be anything big. I'm just curious to know, like, did you guys notice anything that you were like, I really wish that wouldn't have been a part of their school experience? And I'm asking that as somebody who has had kids, all three of my kids go most of the way through schooling as public schools. I mean, really, all of them have to this point, and we intend that all three of them will graduate from their public school. We've had some interesting experiences, but nothing that I would look at as just a terrible experience. I don't know that we've had any terrible experiences. They all had good, strong friendships through their schools and overlapped into church friends and
great teachers.
Yeah.
I think probably in real time, at any point in time, if you'd asked me if I'd like something to be different, I'm sure there's something, but I don't recall anything that I ever, from a systemic perspective, I thought, man, that's horrible. They should really fix that. I just haven't seen that. But again, it's strong school board. It's overall it's been a net positive. I don't have any hard
and they did have
or
great
anything.
teachers.
They did
all the way through, I feel like. So.
Yeah, that's been a big part of our experience as well. And I think that's one of those things that makes it easier to make that choice where we live. I mean, the quality of education and teaching that they get is top notch. And so that really helps. What are the positives to sending your kids to public school?
And things they could get involved in. A lot of really strong extracurricular programs.
Yeah.
The academic programs are kind of incredible. Think about two of the three were national merit finalists. They all were in the 30s on their ACT. They got really, really good. And that wasn't genetic on my part for sure. So they had really good educational from that perspective. But they also had, you're thinking about it, we're sitting in a church. They had just a consistent outpouring of Christian educators who poured into them in the public school system. And so I think that's, think about things that you hear versus reality. I kind of choose to live my life based on my lived reality versus what people tell me, is really, you hear all these terrible things happening and how all this it may or may not be the case about how religion and school and this, that, and the other. But the reality is we have solid foundation of Christian educators for them throughout, and they knew pretty quickly that they were Christians, and they mentored them in that way, right? In a way that, perhaps if they were not Christians, perhaps they don't get that. Maybe the teacher's smart enough to say, I'm leaving that alone because I'm just not going to do it. But, I see that. So I will say, that's an interesting, I often see that a lot of times between Christian private education versus, public. That's we get a Christian education. Well, we're been a few thousand years. Christians are kind of everywhere now, it turns out. And anytime I hear about these horrible public school teachers that are trying to drive away from Christianity, I look across the room at Anna and think, my lived reality is not that at all. I'm watching her in her class and the influence she has, and it's just not. It's not that. So I think even from that perspective, it's been great. I think about Coach Steve Taylor, Germantown, poured into Brandon at a time where Brandon needed it. He was a junior and senior in high school. And he just was a great example. Matt Cox was over there at the time. He was a great example. So those are just things that I think about were pretty solid. But educationally, man, really, really good. And they had tons of it. Bryce did band. Shelby did band for a while. Drum, all that, indoor percussion. You have all these opportunities for extracurricular that they don't always exist everywhere else. And so it's just there's not an outlet there for, especially a lot of times in the arts you miss some things, I think, but pretty broad curriculum that you can pick and choose from as well.
I've noticed over time, even at the middle school level, the amount of clubs now that are available and groups, it's crazy. Like we have a fishing team. We have a bowling team.
Robotics
is huge at our school. We've seen kids that were never athletic, but they live for robotics. And so that's been neat to see.
Yeah, I will say that's one of the things, because I was a public educator for 12 years, and 7 years, and then there was some private school in there too. But I will say one of the things that has impressed me most with our particular school district, and I think it is probably in some ways unique to our area, but the way for everybody to find a thing that they're good at, that they can make community connections in, and like that was not always my experience growing up in public school. I had a good experience in public school. I went to Clinton and had great teachers, incredible education through that. But if you weren't good at sports, and you weren't a female and a cheerleader, it's like sometimes there were not things for you to
Spanish
do.
club. I had
It
Spanish
didn't.
club,
It
Yeah.
really wasn't. When I was,
And I'm glad to see that's kind of been remedied in our place, or where we live, and kind of our experience. All right, well, thank y'all so much for your time today.
Appreciate it.
It's been a great conversation.
Absolutely.
I've been encouraging anybody who's been listening to this to think through some of what Steve and Anna were talking about. And today I am joined by two good friends, Adam Horn and Molly Horn. They know each other pretty well. Welcome in.
Welcome.
Hi.
I'm so glad you're here today. Have to think occasionally about like whether or not you're in the right school situation, right school setting. So today, as we talk about this, one of the things I want to be careful about is I don't want to necessarily mention any names of schools or anything like that, because that really doesn't matter. It's kind of irrelevant to those who are listening. I want to encourage them to think through, like, there are probably some questions that are running through your mind when it comes to, hey, is my kid in the right school situation? Is this a place where they can grow the most? Is this a place where they can flourish as individuals? And so as we talk about that, let's kind of talk in generalities first, and maybe we get into the specifics of why y'all made the change that you did. But Molly, when you are thinking about the school that is ideal for you, what are some things that you're looking for?
I would look for I would look for a good friend group to have, like a tight, kind of close knit circle.
Yeah.
Probably like education stuff, or is the staff good, are the teachers good, what classes they have there, because I don't want to say that I'm smart, but I'm like,
You're pretty smart.
I'm in the like honors courses, so like if they offer more of those classes, or like college level classes and stuff. So, yeah.
How much does sports matter to you specifically?
Sports do matter to me, but I wouldn't say that's like a deciding factor.
Okay.
At least in my sense. I know sports are very important to most people who are like wanting to do that in the future and stuff, but that's just not what like I was looking for. So, I mean, I'd like to play sports there, but if it's not in the cards, then like I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
I guess.
So, Adam, from your perspective, like as you heard Molly and the things that she prioritized, where do those overlap for you as a parent? You and Michelle, as y'all kind of thought through this, did some of those same things overlap, and what's the similar? What's different? I'm just curious.
Some of those do, but first of all, I would just say we have 4 children, and all 4 are very different.
Sure.
And they have different.
Molly, you agree with that?
Yeah, for sure.
It's correct. It's you'd think 1 or 2 of them would be similar, but they're not. All 4 are different. Yeah. So we looked for certain things. Obviously, my oldest daughter went to school first. She was very smart academically. So we wanted her to be challenged that way, as well as it's important to us that they all involve Christ in everything they do.
Yeah.
Just like I do here. I mean, just like you hear me talk about all the time, Christ should be involved in every sphere of our lives.
Yeah.
Not just at church. So we were looking for originally, a Christian school that had high academics and was a low teacher to student ratio.
Sure.
And we thought they would get, more attention in that regard with her.
So she went all the way through one particular school, and then at some point, I can't remember how long ago it was now, you guys decided to make a change with the rest of the family. What are some things that kind of led up to those changes?
Well,
and it didn't happen all at once either, did it?
Yeah, no, we did it.
Landry's was 5 years ago.
Yeah, we pulled him out first and left the girls at that school.
So Landry's your second child.
Right, Landry's your second child. Then we have Molly. Then we have Josie. Presley had one more year, so we allowed her to go ahead and finish out there.
Yep.
And Molly was transitioning out of middle school into high school. Josie was transitioning from elementary to middle the next year. So we let them finish those and make that transition before we pulled them out. And Landry was going from, when we pulled him, he was going from 8th into 9th, from middle school to high school.
Yeah. Okay. So it sounds like what y'all did is y'all looked at just a regular, I guess, a traditional break in where you were in the school calendar of life, like kind of your life calendar, and you were like, this is a good chance for us to move from one situation to another. What are some things that, Molly, from your perspective, as you moved from one school to another, like what were some of the biggest challenges for you as you kind of made that change?
I would say like getting to know all the new people and kind of getting used to it, because going from a private school to a public school is like a huge difference. Huge.
Especially where you went, because like you went from a school that was, I mean, a big private school, but not like ridiculously large, to a very large 7A Mississippi public school.
And it was also like getting used to the classes. There's maybe like 20 people in my classes to begin with, and then once I moved, it was like 30 maybe. But it was like so different, especially even going from middle school to high school was a lot different, because like I was used to being all together, like 6th, 7th, 8th. We were all in one building, and then I went to like high school and I was like, oh my gosh, but I enjoyed it. It was just new. I had to get used to it, I think, was just the main thing.
Yeah, Adam, from y'all's perspective, as the family made that move from one school to another, what were some of the things that you noticed that maybe changed in your schedules, changed in the atmosphere at home, those sorts of things?
Well, for one, we had to drive a lot further, and because they were at one point we had them at 3 different schools.
Yep.
So, or not 3 different schools. Well, it's 3 different drop-off points.
Yeah.
So that was a challenge. Involved more time, was more time consuming, and we had to adjust to that. As far as academic wise, the public school that we sent them to it's probably one of the top public schools in the state academically, for sure. We didn't, the kids thought it's going to be easier.
Yeah.
And I kind of thought it was going to be easier too, but for them. But we found out that was not the case. But I wanted to say this at first, as young parents, before we sent our children to school, we researched, mostly me, we researched as best we could the schools in the area, the private schools and public schools. And, we thought we were doing, what was best for our child at the time. Well, we come to find out later, especially with Presley's situation, I may not didn't do as good a research as I had thought.
Sure.
Because for one, the private school did not offer national merit scholars. Like I said, the Presley was very smart academic wise, and if we had had her in the public school, she could have got a lot more scholarship money. But like I said, all that was in hindsight, and we made some mistakes we were thinking we were getting one thing, and we
Sure.
we ended up getting something different, or not exactly what we were led to believe. When I was doing the research, so we came to the realization that, you know, the school they were at, it was our job, or specifically my job as the family, the head of the family, the spiritual leader of the family, to disciple my kids.
Yep.
At a younger, early on, we looked to the school to maybe disciple it, and the church to do the most of the discipling. But like I said, God, the Holy Spirit convicted me of that, and I realized that it's my job as the father to lead my family spiritually, and the school and the church to come along beside and
Sure.
and partner with me. I didn't realize that at the early stage of fatherhood.
Yeah.
Once I did realize that, the thing that the private school was offering, the discipleship and all that stuff, that I didn't really think they were doing a very good job. There was no point in us to continue to send them there
Yeah.
for that, because I had taken that role over, and was going to partner. If the public school didn't offer it, or didn't, I didn't look to the
Emphasize as much,
as much as the private school did. I started to take that part of the equation out,
Yeah.
and didn't really have a problem sending them to, making that change.
Sure.
And honestly, I've been very surprised at how much God is mentioned, and they do pray, and how much they do a lot of the things that the private school was doing, but I wasn't paying exorbitant amounts of tuition
Sure.
to send them there.
Yep. So, Molly, from your perspective, you moved from a private school where there is at least some emphasis on Christian worldview and that sort of thing, to a public school where that is not going to be explicit. Like, there may be pockets of that, and it's going to be done maybe more by individuals, and the school can't promote it. So, like, how have you seen kind of the spiritual atmosphere of your school change as you moved from a place that is more explicitly Christian to one that is public education?
Yeah, it was honestly one of the more surprising things to me as well, that like I was going to this Christian school that was supposed to be like, went to chapel and all that
Right.
stuff, and I honestly feel like since I've moved to the public school, I've grown a lot stronger in my faith, which is kind of weird to me, because I'm like, if they're doing all that and we're just like praying a couple times or like whatever, how is that such a big change for me? Because I would say that before I was kind of just like coasting. It was kind of becoming like a daily job for me. Mm-hmm. And once I moved to the public school where they didn't offer all of that, I was like, well, I've got to do this myself now. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, obviously with people alongside me, but I was like actually putting in the effort and stuff to grow my relationship with Christ, and like the friends that I've made there too. Like, I found those groups of people that will walk alongside me in that. So I think it is a big change, big dynamic difference between the two, which was one of the more surprising things to me. Yeah,
what I heard you say there, one of the things that's really important is like who you surround yourself with as a circle of friends, and like who pushes you. That's going to be a lot of who influences you to grow or to not grow, depending on who you surround yourself with. I'm curious, so when it came to like actually making the change, how hard were you guys as siblings pushing?
Honestly, I was fine with it. I was fine with moving. I mean, I was going to miss like my friends and everything that I had made there, but I kind of wanted to. But I know Josie, if she was here right now, she'd be like, no, she always says she wants to go back, and like she doesn't like it as much. But I think she was just too young to understand. She was really advocating for to stay. And obviously Landry had already gone and he was fine with moving too. And I'm like, well, this will be fun. So I was fine with it.
How long after Landry went over to public school did you guys go?
Let's see, Landry.
It was the next year. I mean, they stayed one more year.
Yeah,
After Landry left.
Landry, I was in 7th and Landry was in 9th. So once I got done with 8th grade is when I moved.
Gotcha. So how much influence did he have on your your thinking about it?
I don't know. I'm not like easily influenced by them, I guess.
I'm an independent woman.
Yeah, they're all different.
But seeing him like enjoying it as much as he did, I think made me not like nervous about.
Yeah.
I mean, I was nervous, but like I was excited at the same time.
All right. Well, this has been an incredible conversation because we've gotten to see a bunch of things. One, we gotten to hear a lot about school change and why we make those decisions. We got to see dynamics between a family, and that's always fun.
Thanks for joining us on Better Things Ahead. Follow the show on Spotify and Apple Podcast and subscribe to our YouTube channel for the video of our podcast. Until next time, keep moving forward because there are always better things ahead.